So, A Tale of Two Cities. Part 2. Okay. The best and worst of times quotation Dickens came up with. The best of times and the worst of times may well apply here as well. But I present this not for literary stimulation, but rather to submit careful observations that I gathered at great difficulty and personal privation, which were not easily accrued, but rather were painstakingly gleaned over the years. Among other things, after and during an arduous 50,000-mile journey in the United States alone, a part of my 20-year, more than 200,000-mile travels. Now, this 50,000 miles, it was in one summer. I'll show you how I did it. It was the summer of 79. The USA voyage I financed only by selling my homemade underground newspaper as I traveled. I started with $11 I used to print the first edition warning about a coming depression, which thankfully turned out later to be merely a triple dip recession. Of course, I mean, like predicting a recession, that's easy. But this one would be accompanying severe deflation that I was trying to talk about. Anyway, okay, so anyway. With a backpack full of 100 copies, I stuck out my thumb to hitchhike south to Washington, D.C., went around the USA, and returned to Washington, D.C. from Washington State a month later after having hitched across the northern part of the country in 3.5 days. That's my record for hitchhiking across the states, 3.5 days. Let's see. With enough money saved up from my enterprise to purchase a month-long Greyhound bus pass, riding the Greyhound, which the hobos call riding the dog. Dog, man, dog, ride the dog. And I traveled at night, sleeping on the bus using a piece of black foam rubber I found in a trash can at Honolulu airport during my first trip around the world. Yeah, I used to land in Honolulu airport broke, and at Honolulu I'd sell poetry to get to the mainland. It takes a couple of weeks. As they say, 2 weeks is own. Anyway, okay. So, yeah, I got that foam rubber in the Honolulu airport. Oh, I can use this to immobilize my head as I slept sitting up in the bus. That could be real hell. You don't want to have your head touching the edge of any moving vehicle, any hard surface like a window. The vibrations after a 1 hour period of time will cause a minor concussion symptom, i.e. severe headaches. You always have to put some kind of insulation there. As they say, insulator, alligator. Anyway, so I immobilized my head so that I could sleep upright, and I had the foam rubber fastened with an expensive necktie that I found tied around a fire hydrant in Mobile, Alabama. That's one of the advantages of traveling. I mean, out there in Geelong, Australia, I found a necktie around a penguin once, a dead penguin, but that's another story, or another day, another reality, that is. I thought there was more than one anyway. Let's see, okay. Then I wore silver dark glasses so that those looking at me could not tell if my eyes were closed or not. And it's something to find. That's something to know when you got to sleep sitting up. Anyway, not to digress, the megalopolis I referred to in the first paragraph is a blend of several cities into one huge massive one which stretches from Virginia to Massachusetts along the East Coast. So our Too city, T-O-O city, is also made up of many cities. And here I concentrate on two of them, having also, by the way, lived in both. One city has the largest office building in the world, and the other, well, had actually, little typo there, and um, the other, no, actually has, that's no typo, sorry, um, and the other arguably the largest business establishment in the world. Both were attacked September 11th, 9/11, 2001, by hijacked airliners. I'm writing, of course, of Arlington, Virginia, and New York, New York. The largest office building is the Pentagon, where I worked as a Spec 5 Signal Corps information specialist, couriering documents back and forth between there and Building T7, near what was then called Friendship Airport in those days. That housed my outfit. That's where my outfit was, the Army Material Command, back in the 1960s. In New York, after I hitchhiked across the country the first time, took 6 days first time. The second time was 3.5 days. In 1970, I got a job driving a cab, and I can remember the ominous feeling I had as I watched the framework for the World Trade Center go up. I drove nights and would get uptown and work my way to Chinatown and Canal Street. There was one restaurant there where I would eat, which had great food at a very low price. I ate with chopsticks and sipped the free unsweetened green tea from a large Duralex glass, while white-bearded Chinese elders in the back played dominoes around dimly lit, huge round tables. Most nights I never made it when business was good. But when it was not so good, and I got all the way downtown after without picking up a fare, then a good meal would kind of make up for it. Um, Coming towards Lower Manhattan, especially from a distance, I could see the naked light bulbs from the structure of the World Trade Center that was going up the framework, gleaming miles away. That framework as it went up, each day higher and higher. The tiny yellow pinpoints twinkled in the atmosphere between like stars you never saw in the city. I used to look up, try to see the stars. Usually, all you could see on a clear night was visible planets whose reflected light was much stronger than stars, could penetrate the smog and the millions of bright lights of the city that never sleeps. I knew New York would not be the same with those things up. It was doing just fine with its ethnic villages, its great restaurants, its art, music, and literature, especially theater. It's now modest skyscrapers in Midtown. And I saw that era out as cold economics slowly crept in and took hold. Of course, like everyone else, I was horrified when those Twin Towers came down, snuffing out so many innocent lives in one instant. But so I tried hard for the last 20 years to warn people about this, you know. I was warning them about that, you know. It was worth everything I had to make the effort, and that's what it took. Isn't that what they say? Give it everything you've got. Well, that's what I did. I don't know. Maybe it did some good. It's wrong for people to. It's wrong to mass people together like that in one place at one time. How do you explain it away? It can't be anything more than greed and arrogance. In my 50,000-mile trip, that summer, I saw an empty country. Look at the satellite pictures from the USA, of the USA from outer space. What you see in the night, over the country, it's like you see the lights, but where do you see most of the lights? On the coasts. Um, They just pack them along the coastline, crammed into cities, because I don't know, maybe they're too scared to be pioneers and decentralized. They are the kick me signs just waiting for any of scores of organized entities with destructive agendas to walk right in and do their worst. Why didn't they build the Pentagon as towers? Well, of course, arguably, there are tactical reasons. I used to have to run down the hallways